4 years after proclaiming that no one should ever use the debt ceiling to extort a president, Donald Trump is now urging Republicans to do just that, and he's surprisingly candid about the reason for his change of heart. Intrigued? Then click that like and subscribe and enjoy the video. So we're continuing our extensive unpacking of Donald Trump's recent and highly controversial CNN town hall event. As I said in previous videos, it's probably going to take multiple videos to discuss each and every topic and give it the attention that each topic deserves. And then at the end, as we journey through this together, I'll give my conclusions about the overall event, and I imagine I'll have very strong opinions about it. This particular video pertaining to the CNN town hall event is about the debt ceiling, because that is arguably the single most important topic at the moment in terms of domestic and international politics. And Donald Trump was asked a question about the debt ceiling because, as we know, the showdown between President Biden and congressional Republicans is continuing, and the so-called X date, which is when the Treasury Department is officially unable to continue to pay its debts and to pay the bills, is rapidly approaching. The current projections are that it'll be June 1st, right? And so it's right around the corner. And Donald Trump's been on both sides of this issue, first as a president in 2019, which is the first clip I'll play, and then in 2023 here at this town hall event, he was asked about it as a candidate, and he has two different answers. Okay, so we're going to play this first clip, and again, this is from July 2019 when Donald Trump was the sitting president. This is what he had to say about debt ceiling negotiations.
I can't imagine anybody ever even thinking of using the debt ceiling as a negotiating wedge. When I first came into office, I asked about the debt ceiling, and I understand debt ceilings, and I certainly understand the highest rated credit ever in history and a debt ceiling. And I said, I remember to Senator Schumer and to Nancy Pelosi, would anybody ever use that to negotiate with? They said, absolutely not. That's a sacred element of our country. They can't use the debt ceiling to negotiate.
So that's what Donald Trump said in 2019, okay, when he was the sitting president, when a default would have happened on his watch had Democrats not been willing to work with Republicans on raising it. Now, it's important to remember that he mentioned that the United States credit limit or credit score was the highest, right? Now, remember, during the Obama administration, due to Republican brinkmanship, we actually were downgraded by Standard & Poor's because Republicans tried to play chicken with President Obama about raising the debt ceiling. So the only time our credit standing ever dropped was because of Republican brinkmanship. And in terms of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer saying nobody should ever use the debt ceiling to negotiate, that's true, but Republicans have done that. They did it under the Obama administration. So that was the first clip from Donald Trump. Now we have the second one from the town hall that I'm going to play for you. And again, this is from the CNN town hall just a few days ago.
What do you think about the United States' current debt situation, and how can we move forward?
Such an important question. So we're at $33 trillion, a number that nobody ever thought possible. When we had our economy rocking and rolling just prior to COVID coming in, like literally, we were making a fortune. And oil, we were going to make so much money from oil, we were going to start paying off debt. But then with COVID coming in, we had to do other things. We had to keep this country alive because it was so serious. But we have to get the country back. We have to lower energy prices.
So I just want to interrupt here because it's so funny. Again, as a reminder, COVID did occur under Donald Trump's watch, and the pandemic broke out in his last year in office. That does count. He can't just, as much as conservatives and Republicans want, that last year of Trump's presidency was a year of Trump's presidency, or I'm not going to grade you on a curve, and you wouldn't do it if it happened under a Democrat, so I don't see why we should do it for you. And in terms of the economy rocking and rolling, those were continuations of Obama-era trends. Barack Obama deserves the vast majority of the credit for Trump's economy because, again, Barack Obama inherited an economy in recession from the previous Republican president, George W. Bush. And then it took 2 terms for Obama to dig the country out of the hole left for him by George W. Bush. And then when he handed a phenomenal economy to Donald Trump continued some of those trajectories. Again, I compare it to a skyscraper. Basically, George W. Bush left Barack Obama with like a 3-story hole in the ground. And from that, Barack Obama built a magnificent skyscraper. And then Trump came along and added a couple of stories to the top of it before, in his last year in office, devastating it again and bringing it back down to the 3-story hole that George W. Bush started. So I'm not giving Trump credit for 80 to 90% of the economy that he had pre-COVID, which was because of Barack Obama. But anyway, let's continue.
We have to lower interest rates. Interest rates are through the roof. Energy has to come down. It all has to come down, and we have to start paying off debt. But when we have a debt limit, and they use that very seriously to me. They came in, Schumer came in with Nancy Pelosi, and they were using it. We'll violate it, we'll do whatever. They talked a whole lot different than they do right now. I say to the Republicans out there, congressmen, senators, if they don't give you massive cuts, you're going to have to do a default. And I don't believe they're going to do a default, because I think the Democrats will absolutely cave, because you don't want to have that happen. But it's better than what we're doing right now, because we're spending money like drunken sailors.
So just to be clear,
So before we get to the very end there, just note that Donald Trump is calling for Republicans to trigger a default unless President Biden, concedes to their demands. That's unacceptable. That's ridiculous. Again, per multiple, the analyses from multiple financial firms, including Moody's, we're talking about potentially 8 million jobs lost. Unemployment would skyrocket once again. It would crater the stock market. Insurance premiums and mortgages would implode. People would lose their 401k and savings. And this wouldn't affect just people in cities or Democratic voters. It would affect people in West Virginia. It would affect people in Texas. It would affect people in Arkansas. Conservative, liberal, progressive, rich, poor. It would affect everybody. This is terrible advice, okay? But now we will get to Kaitlan Collins, basically putting him on the spot, and you'll hear what he has to say.
Mr. President, you think the U.S. should default if the White House does not agree to the spending cuts Republicans are demanding?
You might as well do it now, because you'll do it later, because we have to save this country. Our country is dying. Our country is being destroyed by stupid people, by very stupid people.
You once said that using the debt ceiling as a negotiating wedge just could not happen. You said that when you were in the Oval Office.
That's when I was president.
So why is it different now that you're out of office?
Because now I'm not president.
So he's very candid about the reason why. When he was president, he said one thing. He didn't want to have to make concessions. He didn't feel that concessions should be lorded over him. He wanted a clean debt hike. That's what Republicans always want. That's what they expect from Democrats. Hey, please don't make demands. Please don't use this as a negotiating wedge. It's un-American. It's unpatriotic. It's bad faith. But then when Republicans see that a Democrat is in office, the calculus changes. And now Donald Trump, this is what people say when they refer to Trump as an honest liar, right? He is a liar. He's a pathological liar, the likes of which are rivaled perhaps only by George Santos, another member of his party. We've never seen a Democrat lie like this with such frequency and such shamelessness. But at least in some ways he is candid about it. He's like, look, I'm a hypocrite. I'm okay with that. I say one thing when I'm in power, but when I'm not in power and my opposition's in power, I say something else entirely. That is a superpower to the Republican Party, because they're not held to consistency. And as you see from the applause that he gets from his supporters, his cheers, I mean, look at their faces. Not all of them, but several of them find that funny. Oh my God, you're so hypocritical. I love it. You say one thing when you're in power and something else when you're not, and that's great, and that's how Republicans should be. They're going to reward him. Some of those people are going to reward him with their votes and their enthusiastic support. This is not a party of principle. This is not a party of statesmanship. This is an ethic that's coming from their leader. Donald Trump is the leader of the Republican Party, and what he's telling Republicans to do is be openly, brazenly hypocritical, even if the consequences of your hypocrisy cripple the domestic and global economies. If it cripples the finances of not just Democratic voters, but Republican voters, not just the rich, but also the poor. So yeah, this is something, again, this is another thing should be eminently disqualifying in terms of Donald Trump's presidency. But again, as you can see, his supporters love it. So anyway, just wanted to highlight the shamelessness. We're going to continue our unpacking of the CNN town hall in subsequent videos. There's definitely more to see.